Lights, fragments, silicon.
All right. Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam, as always. And joining me, as usual, most of the time, we'll get to that, are Golics and Petty Fan. Um, let's see. We both have pretty significant news this week. Petty, why don't you go first?
So just screw this entire month. Let's see. Thursday. I went downstairs to find our basement window broken, courtesy of my mom's cat.
How does a cat broke an entire window?
We're not sure how old the window is. It may have been original to the house, so almost 100 years old. So that didn't help. And then there is a male stray cat in the neighborhood who has many a times my mom's cat has tried to jump at that window to try and get him to leave her alone because
okay, so it was jumping at the window and it broke.
possibly. When we got to repairing the window after the night before, spending almost around 2 hours between fixing it and making sure Cat did not actually escape. She decided.
Also an important consideration.
Yeah, especially because all of our cats are indoor cats. So yeah, we got that. We've repaired the window, and during the repair process, we found that some of the boards in the window frame have rotten. So that's fun. So we think that she either saw the stray cat or her reflection and tried to attack the window because she thought she saw another cat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in process of attacking window, broke it. So right now we have it patched up, and we have boxes and stuff in front of the window where you can still see light come in, but the cat can't see, much else to keep her from, trying to attack it. And then sometime after my dad gets a job, we're going to see about what it would take to replace the rotten boards and fix it permanently. Because that will also help, the draft problem we have downstairs.
Are you still locked in and getting that pool?
Yes.
Like
the pool, a lot of the money from that is from my mom's injury settlement. Because she's basically using it as a medical expense so she can do water therapy on her arm and also help my sister and I too doing our own water therapy stuff.
Tax claim.
Basically, I mean it's a little different than that, but it's essentially at the end of the day we're writing it as you would claim something like that on your taxes.
Right. I mean, you can save the particulars for the IRS.
Yeah, that's for mom to deal with. And then earlier last week we learned that my grandma we've known that she's had stomach cancer for a while, and she was having trouble eating and drinking. So she had begun a stay in hospice. Yesterday evening, we learned that she has since died. She was 85 years old, and I'm not really all that torn up about it because me and her were never really close. She essentially disowned me at 16 because I told her I had no interest in, going to church or religion or anything like that. So I'm like one of the few people in the house not really shaken up by this. So, yeah, it's like I'm happy she's not suffering from the cancer anymore, but that's about the only emotion I can really, convey, because she's basically been a stranger for all intensive purposes. But I don't know. Supposedly, mom and dad would like to take a week off, in June for her funeral service, but I guess that depends when dad gets a job. And he's definitely going to need to talk to them about, yeah, I know you just hired me, but can I go take a week off for my mother's memorial service in Montana, I believe is where they're having it. So
That doesn't sound viable.
it really does not.
Of course, knowing your father, it wouldn't stop him, would it?
No, it would not.
No.
But yeah, and
And you're
then
not done here.
oh no. And from what I've learned about the my card shop I usually go to, they will still exist online, so I can still get like my Digimon product and stuff from them. They just won't have a physical location, at least for a while. But they will at least keep the IP of their being.
That's
So
not a super uncommon thing either.
yeah, but that way they can reopen later. They're not so screwed they had to basically lose their identity.
Well, I mean,
So
there should be remedies for what they went through, considering they were defrauded.
if I see the owner this weekend, I will bring that up to him. I imagine they have already looked into these because they did mention that they were discussing things with a lawyer, but I don't know if that was just bankruptcy things or if they are actually looking to pursue these people who defrauded them. So
I
yeah,
mean,
that's if I see them this weekend, I will definitely bring that up. And yeah, I guess for the other fun stuff that happened yesterday is when I was making dinner, there was sparks that came out from under the stovetop, and there was a little bit of fire. Turns out the terminal block burned out on the some people call it a stovetop or a range, something like that. The thing you use to heat pots on the top of your oven.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the terminal block that connects that to the electricity system burned out, and if I was not in the room, possibly could have burned the house down.
That's not usually a good thing.
No. The oven we have is a white Westinghouse, and they stopped making those in like the mid 80s. If that tells you how old that oven is.
Okay, is there anything in your house that isn't super old?
My computer.
Hmm.
But yeah, well, I mean, you figure you can get the old stuff cheap, and at least we can fix this for around $80. We can get burners replaced and a new terminal block, and getting a new oven would be a few grand. So,
The option is clear.
yes. especially because replacing the terminal block is relatively straightforward, especially for me who has, like, electronics knowledge.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the parts are on the way. They should be here Tuesday. So that's just more I have to deal with.
I mean,
Can the month
it
end
seems
yet?
like there 4 more
I mean, I
days or
can't promise
so
that'll
here.
actually fix anything.
I guess
Yeah.
fair.
I mean,
But
anyway,
I guess that's all from me unless something fucking else happens.
don't jinx it.
I know. It's either laugh or cry at this point.
But, right. So, Gal, looks over to you with your trials and tribulations.
We had an ice storm over the weekend. We lost power on relatively early Saturday evening, and we got power back on Monday late morning, and then we got internet back late Tuesday morning. And that was not great for a person such as me who uses the internet a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that was especially a bad time for it, given that, you missed out on your review on
Yeah,
Sunday.
I had essentially no time to play the game I was supposed to review anyway because the power went out before I was even going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I
then I
mean,
couldn't do the reviews, and then thankfully they got stuff done relatively quickly because I was not even sure that they were going to have everything back by Wednesday. Thankfully, probably because I live pretty close to the highway and the business corridor along the 95 Route 1 corridor. We were able to, or we got fixed up pretty quickly. So I was particularly worried because we did actually have a power line down across the street from us.
Mm.
But I guess they fixed that pretty quickly. I don't know. It's back to normal now, but I feel like I took some sanity damage, and
Brother, you don't know what sandy damage is.
not too much, well,
I don't know.
I was really in a bad place on Sunday because I
guess
was
fair.
missing Pathfinder and couldn't do the game for review, and was expecting to. Well, this Easter we're having family come up here for Easter. And I
Yes,
am
it is the
somewhat.
legendary March Easter.
Well, I mean, I want to spend time with family. The reason we're doing it is because my grandfather is getting very old and wants to do more family stuff. And we hadn't really been doing Easter with that side of the family for various reasons. Mostly because in the original When My Parents Had Kids thing, Easter was one of the other side of the family holidays. So yeah, we're doing that, which will probably disrupt Pathfinder this coming weekend. Although maybe not completely because they might be leaving by mid-afternoon, so I might be able to go afterwards and only be a little bit late. I don't know, but we'll see. What else?
That's a cursed phrase around here. I'm thinking.
No. I was also upset because there was a Splatfest in Splatoon 3 this past weekend that on Friday before the power went out, I stopped playing like one match shy of getting the final participation rank.
Oof.
for it was getting late reasons.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was able to on Sunday go over to a friend's house who did have power and get away from it for a while. And then for the next couple of days to maintain my sanity, I built the high grade Gespenst model that I've had for a bit now.
I still
I
need to
have
finish my
been
high grade God Gundam.
I have been derelict in my Gunpla building insofar as I have a significant backlog. So it was good to get that done. I finished it this evening.
Okay.
I think that's all.
All right. And I suppose it's my go. Comparatively, a quiet week. Let's see. I upgraded my Disney Plus account to include Hulu today. So that's a thing that happened. I guess in more pertinent satellite news, my brother's divorce was finalized today. It was a smoother process than he was expecting.
Good
And,
for him.
So that's over and done with, minus perhaps the most pointed contention, child support. So,
Of course.
I mean, that's something he has to work out. But outside of that, everything's pretty much settled into the pattern until the summer, or like days off. Like, apparently he's getting the kids early Friday, though I'm making sure that's not affecting the broadcast that day. Isn't that? I still have shit to do. We still have shit to do. Anyway, so yeah, I think that'll about do it for news this week. So merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast, and joining us this week is Brandon of Sultan Pixel Game.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's good to have you here. Right. So how we like to get started is we like to get to know the people behind the games, the studio, and what have you. And we do that by asking this particular question: what got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Okay. What got me into video games, personal level and a professional? Uh, well, on a personal level, I would have to say probably just growing up. Nintendo was the thing in our house, and I have two older brothers, so we had all the system. So just kind of was just born into it. It's probably the best way. I mean, I could say it. Not really. Yeah, nothing really interesting. At least as far as like, I've never had like a, this is it. I gotta play these games. I never was like that. I just always enjoyed stuff. You know. Uh, it was probably in high school though when I got my first computer, when I was able to like play like Diablo 2 and things like that. That I probably really got into more of the I don't know, more in depth kind of games. But otherwise, I was always just one of those kids who just like I want to shoot things. You know. On a professional level, though, this one's kind of a varied answer. I remember I was living in California, and it was in Burbank, and I was playing Left 4 Dead a lot, like a lot. And I was kind of getting like this little like, this isn't good. I probably do this too much. And so that probably was the starting point for me to start thinking about like, well, maybe there's something else I can do with this, you know. But it wasn't until way later, around 2012, where I kind of started doing different things, and I was working as a web developer, and kind of started thinking about like, well, maybe I should explore game design. Like maybe making a few HTML5 games would, you know, boost my portfolio or something. Help me get a job. And so that was kind of like beginning. That was around 2012, and so that was kind of like the beginning of it. And I became more of a hobby dev for years. So I was doing something else at the time. Um, and so I got into like Construct 3 and started just learning how to basically just make a game. And I would just make all kinds of stuff, trying to figure out like what is this thing, you know? It wasn't until 2018, it wasn't until 2018 when I kind of decided to like, well, I didn't really decide it actually. I had to like find a job. I had to figure out something, and so I was like, well, maybe I could like do some pixel art for people. Maybe there might be some interest in that. Uh, and yeah, that's right around the time like I figured out where to post. How, you know, like, hey, I'm doing this, hire me. And it was weird. Like I think within 3 months, I had basically created my own job, and that's how Salt and Pixel was born.
So to clarify, you've been at this for about 12 years now?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while, just
Okay.
as a hobby and as a, you know, and as a pro, I guess, and just trying to,
Like,
yeah,
that's quite a while to be working at this.
yeah, I would say so. I mean, yes and no. I guess there's those hobby years, you know, where it was like on and off because you know you have other things to do, have work or whatever. And it just wasn't very good at it, you know. So you quit, that type of thing. But eventually,
Right.
what ended up happening, I made this game, Crush, as kind of like just a demo, like a stupid thing, you know, and on Game Jolt, and they ended up featuring it, and that was like my first big. Actually, yeah, Crush is actually a big thing for even Annihilator. What was if we would get into it, but yeah, Game Jolt promoted it, and I got a bunch of followers on the game, and that kind of showed me. You know, it's like, oh, maybe there's something. Maybe I have something, to offer to all this. You know, this that really kind of like helped me dig my heels into the game dev journey. You know, but I wasn't working I wouldn't consider myself working as a professional at that point.
So at what point would you say you crossed that line?
Um, probably when probably in 2018 when I was actually on projects, but as an artist. But when I was getting actually, I considered when I was actually getting paid and for my knowledge of it. So it was a weird thing because I had by that time I had tried a bunch of things. I had, tried doing a Kickstarter and it failed. I tried to not be a hobby developer, like just push it, but it just nothing ever worked. Um, but eventually I got onto projects doing art, and things would come up. I'd be like, hey, you should try this, but this doesn't really work. I know this for a fact. And I guess that experience kind of helped show me that, oh yeah, I know a lot more than I think I do. And I've had some clients who would come back. Well, I was gonna say I had some clients like where I would fight with some clients every now and then about like ideas, in game dev, as you do with anything gaming related, get in some arguments and about how to do stuff. And I would tell them like, look, I've done this. I've worked with some other people, and just chill out, go slower, or do this, and if just take your time with it, or whatever. It could be anything, and then come back and be like, you were right. We wasted a bunch of time. You were right, and it was like things like that. Because it kind of builds a foundation of like what not to do, so you don't have to go back there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Experience is a great, if brutal, teacher. Like, at any rate, are you still doing freelancing on other projects, or are you working entirely on your own stuff these days?
I'm still freelancing. Yeah, I actually picked up three projects this last month. Yeah, doing different things as an animator or helping out with art direction. I like it. It's actually one of my favorite things to do.
Like, I gotta admit, that's not a common refrain we get on this program. As it's much more. That's a thing that some people have to do to live.
Yeah, well, it is a thing I have to do to live because it's all I do is either I freelance, like that's where my bread and butter is, working on other people's games, which has allowed me to work on my own personal. But I really like it because it I've like my most recent project like was Star Racer, doing the ships and working with Brennan. Um, it's always fun because I'll get on these projects with people who are way better at game development than I am. And it's just nice to like be a part of that. So I always get excited whenever I can land a good gig doing art. Though ultimately my ultimate goal is to not ever work on anybody else's game but my own. But it depends.
It's a mood.
I mean, an unsurprising goal, but perhaps attainable. Now, um, at any rate, so in terms of the freelancing projects, is there anything you can tell us about them at this current time?
Um, I can't talk about the recent ones; those are under NDA. But Star Racer is the most recent. It's a Star Fox slash F-Zero racing game. Just it was kickstarted.
I might have
Not
seen
long
that.
ago. It's a lot of fun. There's the soundtrack for the game is going to be really good. I can say that because I think it's like three of the people on it are pro music people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can shoot you a link here on Discord. But that's probably the most recent one I can talk about.
What did you end up doing on that particular project?
In the beginning of it, I helped. Well, I made all the ships in the game. That was like my main thing I did for it. But I also did a lot of the background art and basically art direction for pre Kickstarter.
Hmm.
And I made a lot of stuff for it too that hasn't been released yet, like monsters and ships and or location level design type stuff, environmental design.
Quite a lot of design there. Anyway, so I suppose now is as good a time as ever to shift to your own projects. I think a good starting place is the thing that we got on display here and have been playing in the background since the interview started, and that is Annihilator, which is a Game Boy Color game, if I'm remembering correctly.
Correct.
Yeah. And this is an actual Game Boy Color game, correct?
Correct.
We've covered a few of those in recent times, thankfully enough. So, are you like specific, like in terms of what you do on your own projects? Do you like focus on Game Boy games, or like what was the rationale in making a Game Boy Color game?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, when GB Studio came out, it
Mhm.
really, like everybody who's using it, really opens a lot of doors. And and retro games or old console games are really fun to work on. I've worked on a few, as just as doing art, and so yeah, when the opportunity came up to like make my own, I definitely wanted to jump in. And so Annihilator, going back to Crush, actually Annihilator was my Crush Game Boy version of Crush from like years ago.
Hmm.
Because I keep remaking that game. Uh, and but instead of like I wanted to like sever that connection and do something more original. So Crush became Annihilator, and I got to I allowed myself to, I don't know, tell a new story, tell a new um whatever with it. But yeah, Game Boy games. I'm a big experimental person. Like I like to tinker. And oddly enough, the modern Game Boy scene is actually very it's right, if I can say it that way, or it's there aren't a lot of games out for which is the funny thing to say about the Game Boy, because it's like one of the most the system has probably some of the most games on it of all time. 'Cause I think they
It
stopped
had a
making
very
games on
long
it like
lifespan, considering, because
Yeah, the Game Boy is
honestly, largely because Pokemon happened.
yeah,
I'm
and
like,
so
the Game
go
Boy
ahead.
is an interesting beast, certainly.
Yeah,
Like,
The Game Boy line is an interesting beast. Not just the
I
original
start
Game Boy, but the Color and the Advance as well.
right. I mean, the whole Game Boy Color thing. Opinion is split in if that's even its own distinct thing. Like Nintendo themselves considers it to be an extension of the original Game Boy line, whereas the Game Boy Advance is very clearly its own system.
Yeah.
But you know, anyway, getting back to what you're trying to say about the Game Boy development scene.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, as far as like modern game design, for the Game Boy, there's just a lot to explore there, right? And so I was thinking, like, there isn't a top down. There are top down shooters for the Game Boy, but there isn't like an arena top down shooter. You know?
Like, I want to say Smash TV came to the Game Boy. I don't
I don't
honestly
know if
not.
that actually came out. I know I remember hearing one was planned, but I don't remember if it actually came to fruition.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to remember, because I'm like, yeah, like it's not unheard of to have a
Right.
game like this on the Game Boy, but it wasn't like it's not the Game Boy's forte because of that processor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like Twitch action games. Yeah, kind of had to finagle because
To
you
put it
know,
lightly.
I mean, you could do them. Like, a good example is Operation C on the Game Boy. Like,
Yeah.
it's a way better Contra game than I think anyone would ever give it credit for. Like, I mean, it's obviously not as good as the console versions, but I've seen worse from Contra.
Yeah.
I mean, so speaking of which, how difficult has it been to make a top-down arena shooter on the Game Boy, even if it is the Game Boy Color?
Well, the Game Boy. The Game Boy it slows down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's really a pain to
We're
work
having
with. Like I,
and the internet and power just dropped out and flickered, and it's back on right now, but the internet hasn't reconnected, so I'm here by phone in case it goes back off.
All right.
All right. Anyway,
Sorry about that.
Anyway, you were saying, Brandon?
Oh, I was just talking trash on the Game Boy's processor. Yeah, it can be done because there's a game I forget what it's called. It was dang it. I was playing a lot of it though when I was trying to figure out like how to make this one. It was basically you played two characters that you could switch out while you're playing. One had a jump, one didn't. It was
I think. Yeah, I like that sounds familiar, but I can't place it right now.
Yeah. Same. I
Yeah.
almost think like it was like we reviewed it at some point, or at least talked to the devs or something.
Like it's definitely flickering a light bulb, but not strong enough where I could remember the actual title of the game.
Right.
Yeah, I want to say it's not Ikiri Wars for sure, but it was something that had like that kind of like it was something Fortress maybe. I don't know. So the hardest part is just getting down like the strafing, because that's really what makes, at least in my opinion, like makes an arena shooter fun, is being able to just control your character and strafe and shoot and avoid. And with the Game Boy, with its two buttons and with the bullet hell, it just doesn't like it. You know, it's just too much. And so the Game Boy Color, you know, if I do believe if I do believe it's a little bit more powerful than Nintendo. So it adds it has just enough processing power for it to process all the bullets and all the enemies running around and be smooth enough. But even then, I still have trouble. I want to go back with this one annihilator. But when you play the game, the shooting, you'll notice like when you're shooting, you'll still be in a strafe mode for like a microsecond before it switches back. You know, and that's just the processor running through the cycle, the ticks.
Right.
And so I think I might have an idea how to get around that. This, of course, this is also like a GB Studio thing, but
Mhm.
it can when stuff starts to layer on top of when the programming starts to layer on top of, or the code, you know, on top of other things, it'll slow down and lag. So it's just a process of just I kind of think of it as process of elimination. So trying different things and seeing what works.
And how far along would you say Annihilator is at this point in time?
Oh, it's done. Actually.
Oh,
yeah, it's finished. I've been working on Annihilator for a while. I've just been taking time to make it better. So right now, like as of right now, you could play the game from start to finish, and there's an ending. And I actually worked on some new cutscenes for the game over the past week. And right now, I'm working on localization because I want to add a couple more languages to it. So I'm actually hoping to. It's in early access now. You can play up to 90% of the game or 80-90% of the game, but I'm hoping maybe like next week or the next 2 weeks I'll be able to release the full ROM with at least the French localization.
and are you aiming to have this play like? Are you doing a physical distribution of the Annihilator here?
Yeah, in fact, there's been a pre-order available since October last year. So if you yeah, I have it on my Twitter links, but yeah, people have ordered. You can pre-order the physical. So that one may take a bit because I want to make sure like the game itself is solid and as bug free as possible.
Mm.
Before I get get the game burned to carts, but the game itself is done, and so that'll release before that. I'm also experimenting with and want to do and doing so experimenting, want to do and doing a enhanced PC version of the game too.
Mm.
So using the assets I made from the Game Boy Color, like just those tile sets, building them out and building out like something that is the same as
So
the Game Boy, but
basically
just a
like
little
your
bit
own
better.
HD remaster.
Kind of. This one actually has 3D in it though, so I actually just took the tile sets I made and used them as low poly graphics on 3D objects. And so I sent you guys a video.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if I have any video of that, because that seems interesting.
Yeah, I think I sent you, or at least I dropped. Maybe I can double check and try to drop it again. But
I
dropped
have the drop you sent me. All right, I will try and get this on air, guys. I cannot guarantee anything because last time I tried to do this, OBS crashed on me.
And that's the thing that's connecting us to Twitch. So
yeah,
that's not good. Right.
I will. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it tells me to go, sod off.
Well, I guess Gauntlet's is still in holding pattern.
All right, I think we're here.
We are.
Let us mute that. All right.
Yeah, there's some footage. Yeah, that's some early footage of it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It does look remarkably close to the Game Boy Color version. Though I'm presuming that's just because it's using a lot of the assets right now.
Yeah, I mean that is the assets in the Game Boy. So those are the same artwork. It's just I built it out in 3D. I played around with it a little bit, just like in this one I was playing around with the lighting because I have to bake the lighting into the graphics. But really in this one I was just trying to figure out like what is this? What am I making? The camera angle and whatever I was doing. I was just trying to figure out what I was doing, the workflow.
And is this being built in Unity?
I'm building that out in Construct. I work mostly in Construct.
I see. Construct comes up every now and again. Granted, it's much more used for 2D stuff than 3D. But
I remember when 3D was a hack for that thing.
Indeed.
They've come along. They've done a good job updating that thing.
Well, kind of like conversely with Unity, 2D had to be hacked in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have some other games that we want to talk about here. And I suppose keeping in the Game Boy family, we got Below Pocket. I'm not sure if we got any video of that.
I can look. I think I saw something.
But
yeah, Matt's game. Yeah, I worked. He invited me into the project to do some artwork.
So that's what the deal is here. It's
I wish I could claim more to it. Like I was like, yeah, I helped program it, but no, I just did the title screens and some of the the game over screen and things like that.
Oh, there's Below Pocket art.
Yeah. Well, there's the title screen progression. And I'm assuming that's another one of those freelance projects that you worked on.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify what that was, since I saw it on the YouTube page, and it looked fairly interesting.
Yeah. Just like looking at some of the art in here, that's pretty interesting Game Boy art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys got around to playing it? Or?
I have not.
Yeah, can't say that we have. It's not yet.
It's a fun Tetris game.
This may have come up on the show. I
think it has, because I remember it's ooh, Tetris.
Yeah, no, this has come up. I think we had him on the show.
Matt?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
this
Matt,
is very familiar.
you
it's a
probably have
small
Matt.
world
Matt,
after all.
Like, I mean,
yeah.
look, we have a lot of people on the program in a given season, so like,
Right.
so,
Well, if I can throw
sometimes,
some love at Matt, I mean, he's like the face. In my opinion, he's pretty much the face of homebrew. In my opinion, he does a lot of good stuff, and working with him is I feel like an honor because he truly loves it. I think, in my opinion, the way he works on stuff. So it's always great to work with people like that.
I mean, I think that's required for doing
Right.
development in like the Game Boy space or
Mhm.
really any retro, like actual retro development that I can think of.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of passion in gaming in general, but I think you have to have that extra spark to look at one of the old systems, especially something as limited as the Game Boy, and say, yes, I want to develop a game for that thing.
Yeah, we've had so many games that they do it in the like style of their specific console, but people who've played the consoles for a while realize, oh god, they're cheating. That would never run on actual hardware.
Like, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
But to actually
they
go
don't have.
through the extra steps that it's running on the bare metal is just an entire level of dedication that not many devs have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a rite of passage, and it's in a sense of like a little touching back on history a little bit and kind of taking hold of whatever that little kid's fantasy was. You have to make a game, and be able to make.
Like stuff like this helps you make extremely optimized code. Honestly, it's something that should be pushed more in like game development classes and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
I can see why it's not.
I can see why it's not, but at the same time, we have so many games with such ill-optimized code coming out because they just see, oh, look at the super powerful PS5 or whatever.
That's not the only reason.
I
It's
know it's
also
not the only reason, but it's definitely part of the problem.
Yeah. I'm like, but we are talking about a different space entirely. Like, the AAA space. Coding
like,
is
even just like exercise, not like full finished product putting out, but like if you can get something to run on a Game Boy, it should be something to like be looked into. But that's just my opinion on the matter.
It is duly logged.
Well, I would say from like a game design perspective, if you're wanting to get better at your craft, jumping back and like learning how to make games on these old systems can really help you for the modern systems, especially if you're making kind of like faux retro games, because at least you can get the feel down. You can kind of see a tick based system versus a frame rate based system, and it's a fun thing to explore, because like when I work on retro games, I'm not even trying to think like a modern artist. I'm trying to think like what would an artist think back in the 80s, like what was their inspiration, what was they're using to lead into their designs. And it wasn't, it was stuff that it was a little bit different, or from the 50s or the 60s, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just all the interesting stuff they did with the sprites and tile systems they had to work with back then to make the art,
Yeah, and even then, Pixar wasn't really, I don't think, a thing. Like, people weren't saying Pixar. It was just artists trying to get their art into a low resolution format and recreating that. They're just being artists recreating that in that space. And it's just a different way to think about things, I think that'd be useful to anybody who's pursuing game design in some way.
Right.
Right. And looking it up, yeah, we had met on the program last year, like episode 5A of this season. So, if you want to hear more about Below Pocket from the actual developer, I've linked that into our Discord.
I will
I
pop
can-
that over into the Twitch page for our
Yeah.
viewers to mull over later.
Yeah. We've actually done quite a bit of Game Boy development talk this season, now that I think about it. Like, anyway, so finally on our list, we got something that's completely different, and not just in terms of gaming, but it's also, like, it's a Windows game, Happy Core.
Oh yeah, Happy Core. Yeah, it's one of my. So I haven't. Yeah, it was How do I explain this game?
It's always fun when we need to start with that one, with that line.
Well, sometimes like I make games when I'm like having a hard time, right? So I'll get like an idea in my head, and I'm like, I'll just make it, because if I don't make it, I'll just start having issues. And so I decided to sit down. I've been wanting to make a block breaker game for a while. And so I decided to sit down over the weekend and just create. Um, and so I always tend to lean into horror a lot, in sci-fi, and so I let the intrusive thoughts win. I'm thinking like, what if instead of like you know blocks and it's all safe and stuff, what if it was like buildings and people were inside them?
Oh God.
That was just like, I was like, okay, what is that? And as I start working on it, I just got the idea, like, what if like this is just like a construction or a rehab thing, and it's a corporation, and they're like wanting to destroy these city blocks so they can put in like concrete or whatever. The typical, actually more real to life than what I was even thinking about. But that's the idea of the game. So it's Arknoid if Amazon came in to it, or something. And so the game basically is that it's a machine that drops over a city, and this person throws a giant ball to destroy it. That's just kind of
as one does.
as one does. And so I posted the Newgrounds, where I think is probably the best place for it, and people there seem to really like it. Um, and it's actually behind the scenes. I can say this: it's got a lot of attention. I've gotten a lot of messages about it. Hopefully, this year I might be able to do something on more of a full scale with it, like a full game. But
Like, what would you quantify as a full game in terms of a brick breaker here?
So I would say something like 100 levels, maybe like 10 different areas. Oh, you press the random buttons. Yeah, you guys got my.
Oh.
Are you pressing? No, you're playing my. I sent you over my exclusive dev build.
Ah.
So, yeah, you got all kinds of weird stuff in it. But the arrow keys, all you need to do to play the game is the arrow keys and up and down on the arrow keys. Do everything you need to.
Broke it.
Work in progress is.
Well, what I was trying to do is I was going to have it be where you can spin the octagon or the hexagon, so you get different angles, but it didn't quite work out. So I had to go back. So I forgot to take that code out before I sent it to you.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But no. What can I say about? So as far as like the theme of the game is that you're basically a contractor with Happy Core, and they give you jobs. and they're kind of a shady company. Obviously, they're a very shady company. They're not really a happy company, but they kind of force happiness onto their employees. And so you're just doing your job, hoping that one day maybe you get your own house someday. So that's kind of it's a sadistic game. That's just really what it is. I was thinking like PlayStation 1, Twisted Metal era, kind of dark humor. You may not see yourself as the bad guy, but you're definitely working for the bad guy, and that's pretty much the foundation of the game. Where I want to take it further though is kind of like in the beginning where you see that kind of like intro video. Is I would love to do like some live action or something like that with videos of like fake easy corporate commercials and stuff like that, but have a horror twist on them, to where it's like maybe the employees are getting murdered by the company, but you don't really know. um, just kind of actually leaning into
Just be
the
happy, Wink.
yeah, just I think it's the sad things. It feels like it might be more real than
Yeah.
just and I think that's part of why I want to kind of lean more into it. And even the game itself, if I think about it, like it's such an easy game. It's like it's an arcade game. It's basic. You don't really need to know much to play it. You just can play it, right? And it's distracting. And you get all the numbers. You see all the. Right now you got like a bonus, right? You're making more money. But if you in the meta part of it, it's like, oh yeah, you're kind of just destroying people's lives.
It's
It's just
fine.
something
What
in
could
that, like,
possibly go wrong?
there's something in that that's interesting, on a social, kind of like mindset or social kind of thing. I don't know, but yeah, Happy Core.
Yeah.
Um,
What else do I want to do with this game? Well, I do. I for sure want to add like robots to it because there's a shoot 'em up element I'd like to try as well. But yeah, having like boss battles where you're fighting like you remember you're familiar with Mortal Engines where they have like the big machines that are like with uh historical sites and they're like robots and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to do something like that where there's like mechs. You have to like battle a giant mech, or you're in the rainforest. You have to I don't know battle a giant mech turtle or something. I don't know. Different historical locations.
Right. So,
Yeah,
are there any other projects you want to mention to us at this point in time?
Uh, yeah, yes and no, because I'm always working on stuff.
Fair.
Like but when it comes to Game Boy games, like if you follow along my Twitter, you probably see me post stuff like Night of the Living Dead, and I have and I also have another game I would really love to get back into called Blitz Viking. This is what's called right now. So those are some things to look for. As far as current, it would probably be this game here and Annihilator. Annihilator currently is the big project for me. It's almost done. I'm still taking pre-orders. I'm actually working with a YouTuber this month to help promote it. Can't how do you say his name? Or the channel Strika
I think so.
ST1KA or Stawonka. I don't know. Anyways, I'm working with him, and a part of the proceeds are going to support his channel. He just did a video on like on a lot of the Game Boys, modern Game Boys right now. And Star Racer. If you can go play Star Racer, that would be awesome because I'm part of that, and it's been it's a good game, and Brennan is working his ass off on it. So I think it deserves the attention.
Duly noted. Like, right. I suppose my final question is: how much is the Annihilator physical edition going to go for?
Right. So the ROM is $10. The physicals they are 70 and 50. I gotta look at.
Hmm.
I think they're actually. Well, I say 70 because it's 70 if you're like depends on shipping.
Yeah.
Well, let me jump on there. So I have a American and or domestic internet.
I guess while you're looking that, do you know who you've decided to do the carts with yet, or are you self-printing those?
I do. I'm gonna go with Inside Gadgets
Hmm.
because I've heard a lot of good stuff about them. As far as like, well, I've heard just a couple of people have done different ways. So this is a self-published thing. I know a lot of people will buy repo cards and then
Yep.
reflash those. But I've also heard that those just aren't as as good quality, and
It
they'll
depends on the
that's just
repo cart. It really does.
so yeah. I mean, I'm not too familiar in it, but just that thought of like risking that,
That is
just like
fair,
I don't know,
especially
like
for
if
your
I knew
first
who to go
one of your
to,
first big projects.
yeah. If I knew who to go to, I'd probably take that route. But when it comes to Inside Gadgets, everybody I've talked to, even people who are collective, like they're like, oh yeah, I have stuff from them. Their stuff's good. So at least
Hmm.
in that regard, like um, having them make the PCBs and do the whole thing will be, I feel like will be better product
Mm-hmm.
overall. Here there, yeah. So the pre-orders. So I have two. As far as physical, so you can get the physical with the box and the manual and all that, and you can also get just the cartridge only. And so the box is $50 and the cartridge is 30. And shipping is uh, $10 domestic and $20 international.
All right, then. I think I'm good with my questioning, and I'm assuming you're good as well, Petty.
Yes, I am.
Not even sure if Galax is still here.
I am. I had to stand up and take a little bit of a walk to clear away that D4 mental damage I got slapped with, but
Duly noted.
I am here.
Okay. I'm like, all right. Anyway, so Brandon, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here today to talk about your projects.
Thank you.
Right. So the game is Annihilator. You can go and pre-order it on the Salt and Pixel website. If you want to play an early access build of it, it's available right now on his itch.io page, along with a demo of Happy Corp. And yeah, Petty, play us to the next segment. All right, so welcome to the topic of discussion for the week. This time around, we are talking about Princess Peach. Obviously, in honor of Princess Peach's Showtime, or Princess Peach Showtime, I think. So Princess Peach is an interesting character. At once, one of the most important, I dare I say, iconic and well-known female video game characters to ever exist. Yet also one of the most controversial. Like, how can that be, you might ask? Hypothetical personages.
Well, some people aren't super hype about characters whose original purpose and still about 80% of the time is just to be a damsel in distress.
Exactly. Because, yeah, Princess Peach, until, I guess, very recently, has embodied that. She is Princess Classic.
I mean, still in most of her, even like relatively recent appearances. In the paper games, she gets to have her own side things, but it's still usually, Mario's still trying to rescue her, but she's doing her own thing. She's playable in a handful of platformers.
Right.
When she's not replaced with another color of Toad.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, I believe she, at least at one point, held the record for most playable appearances by a female character in video games ever. Because here's the thing. While she's she's not too often playable in the mainline Mario games,
she is playable in like 90% of the spin-offs, the sports spin-offs, Kart, Party.
Yeah. And she's been there since like Super Mario Kart. And she's usually the sole female designations, especially back in the day. Like, if you wanted to play the woman Mario character in Mario Party or Mario Strikers or insert Mario spinoff here, it was usually Princess Peach, like Princess Daisy, Rosalina, Toadette. All of them. You're looking at the earliest, the mid 2000s, because that's either when they were created, or in the case of Princess Daisy, like she really wasn't brought into any sort of prominence until Super Mario Strikers, I want to say.
Yeah.
She was in Tennis, wasn't she?
I think, wasn't she created for Tennis?
No, she was created to be the princess in distress in Super Mario Land.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, they started using her again when they either needed Peach to have a doubles partner or Luigi to have a mixed doubles partner.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, the point is, like, she's the top shelf in terms of the female Mario character hierarchy, at least in terms of playability. In terms of like actual governmental authority, I mean, obviously she's the equal to Princess Daisy. I'm not sure how much that transfers to like Mayor Pauline, since she's an actual elected official and not royalty.
Although she became mayor rather later after she hadn't been kidnapped by a gorilla for a while.
You get my point, though. And Rosalina is, well, a godlike being.
Yeah.
Like, so she kind of and maybe creator of the universe, if I'm remembering Super Mario Galaxy correctly. Anyway, but yeah, it's like Princess Peach has been controversial because she continually gets kidnapped even to the modern day, or like I said, very recently. Indeed, you're going to be seeing that again with the remake of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Not helped by the fact that that's the one with the creepy stalker robot.
She's not kidnapped with no agency in that one, but she's still kidnapped.
Yeah. I'm like, it's not better all that much.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say. Like, but aside from that, it's also because she tends to embody, well, princess classic tropes or stereotypical symbols of femininity, like the pink dress. Or the fact that in Smash Brothers, what is her weapon? A frying pan.
I mean, in
Mario
fairness,
RPG 2.
they did change those around. But yes, I believe in original 64, didn't she just have the frying pan?
I mean,
She
a
wasn't
lot
in
of her stuff is
64.
just hand-to-hand stuff. But her smash, at least a couple of her smash attacks still use a frying pan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and once again, those are very stereotypical symbols of this is what a woman is and should be.
Dear
You know.
Mario, I have baked you a cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's her relationship with Mario and Nintendo's downright Disney-esque aversion to sex and relationships. Honestly, even more so because Nintendo won't even say that these two are dating or whatever, that they're good friends.
Yes. Good friends, air quotes.
I mean, I don't know why, because like even Disney doesn't have didn't have problem having their Disney princesses marry up. Like at least not until post Tangled. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But my point is like they were not afraid to have like Sleeping Beauty marry Prince Charming. They did have a problem with any of their Disney princesses having kids. I
Ariel,
swear to God, this is true.
freakily enough.
Like, no, I remember reading about this. Like, Roy O. Disney had a problem with a specific sequence in Fantasia 2000 where all of the Disney princesses and their husbands, would be on screen with their children. And it's like, and they had a problem because children denote sex. And,
I think Patty Fan was talking about the Little Mermaid sequels where they do have a kid.
But my point is that's a really huffy thing to be, that's like literally puritanical. And that's the level of repression we're seeing here. Like, you can't even have Princess Peach and Mario dating for reasons. Like, I honestly don't know what they are afraid of here. But it's definitely a thing that they are being weird about.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we also have Princess Peach's lowest moment.
Is this where we get into the DS game?
No.
Oh, there's a lower moment?
Yes. This is Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh my fucking god, she was in there.
And this is what I considered to be her lowest moment. When Bowser Jr. introduces himself as Peach's love child, and she goes, "I'm your mama?"
Oh my god, that was a thing. God damn it. It hurts.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. That is what I've been asking ever since I saw that cutscene. Because it's like, there's no reason why she would be asking that.
Yeah.
Unless like her physiology is way off base to what anyone has ever thought about.
I don't think physiology applies in the Mario world.
I guess fair?
Maybe not, but like,
considering that Mario has a variable ability to just breathe water forever, and wearing clothes and wearing costumes fairly consistently gives you the powers and attributes of the thing you're wearing the costume of.
Putting that aside, I would hope that Princess Peach would have known she was carrying a turtle in her womb. Like, there's no way in this fucking question doesn't look bad on her. And it's like, if you didn't know, what the fuck were you doing, lady?
Yeah.
like I said, this just like this does not reflect good on her. You know, the performance didn't help, by the way, with that airy, brain dead delivery. Like, just
I mean, granted, that's just GameCube era Nintendo.
yeah, I suppose so. But just Jesus Christ, what were they thinking here? Like, I mean, anyway, and I suppose we do have to mention the DS game because, you know, Princess Peach was pretty late to the party in getting a starring title. When you like, she is behind Wario, Luigi, Yoshi, and probably some other people. I guess technically Toad, because he was actually the playable character in Wario Woods. Like,
Also,
you know,
Captain Toad. Well, that's later.
Yeah,
But
that was
yes.
much later.
Yeah, like Captain Toad's a separate character than Toad. Like, you know, Toad
Is it?
that you find in. Yes, Captain Toad is a separate character from Mushroom Retainer Toad over here in Super Mario Brothers 2 / Super Mario USA / Doki Doki Panic. I think we are required by law to acknowledge that this was originally Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic. There. Fact confirmed. Like, but I don't think a reason was ever given as to why Peach was finally given her own game. You know, as far as the reason why Peach was originally playable in Super Mario Bros. 2 here, it's because, well, this game came out in 1988. There wasn't a whole lot of Mario characters at this point in time. So they had to use what they got. And I suppose they also needed a female character as well. Maybe. Like,
Also, I guess technically at this point she was referred to as Princess Toadstool still.
yeah, that was an American creation. Like, you know, she was Princess Toadstool until Super Mario 64.
Because they didn't want video game players, when video gaming was still relatively new, to get too hung up on, but why is she Princess Peach when she's the princess of the mushrooms?
Yeah.
I mean, but this game is important to Princess Peach. You know, about as important as it is to her as it was to Luigi. Maybe even more so. Because, you know, an argument can be made that, you know, Luigi got his his signature jump here, but he also had in the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2. Like, Princess Peach, you know, got her signature floating in this game when she has it. Like,
Also, she pretty frequently has abilities that call back to it, like in Smash Brothers. She's the one who
Right.
has the move that's pull up a Super Mario Brothers 2 toadstool and throw it.
Like, you know, some games like, say, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, she doesn't. I don't think she has that floating jump. Like, trying to remember, because
In which?
you know, because they wanted to keep that as universal as possible in terms of the movesets.
In
You know,
Wonder Gulix.
Yeah,
in
Wonder.
Wonder, the equivalent to that is a badge that anyone can use. She doesn't have it by default.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering. Because Luigi doesn't have his you know, his floaty jump.
Yeah,
in
and
that either.
Likewise, there's a.
Yeah. Anyway, so getting back to Super Princess Peach. So that was her first starring role. And, well, they did pretty simple role reversal in terms of the conceit. Instead of, well, Princess Peach getting kidnapped for the umpteenth time, it's the Mario Brothers who get kidnapped for once, including Mario, which not completely unfamiliar to him, but he's the one who gets kidnapped the least. Because
usually it happens. Usually it happens to him in Luigi games.
And I guess it was good enough for Super Princess Peach. So the Super Princess Peach has to go and save the day in the Mario's stead. And, well, let's get to the defining feature here, and that is she progresses through the levels by using a range of emotions. Read mood swing.
Yeah, she has an umbrella that enables this somehow.
Yeah, and once again, it's the Mario universe. I mean,
and this is not inherently bad, but it's a little bit of a choice to give a female character, literal Crimea River powers.
On a dime.
Yeah.
The problem here is it's feeding into the whole women are emotional strata. So it wasn't good. I mean, the game itself was fine, but didn't really do any business. Like, the Super Princess Peach doesn't really come up in conversation much, especially compared to other Mario spin-offs like Luigi's Mansion or Wario Land or Yoshi. Yoshi's Island.
I haven't actually heard anything about it being like a particularly bad game, but I've certainly never heard of it being particularly good either.
Well, yeah, I mean, what really speaks to that is that never became a sub-series. Like, it never did the business to become, we're not on, like, we didn't get, like, 3 or 4 of these. Which I'm assuming was Nintendo's hope here. Like, and yeah, that was her first, and until, like, a week ago, her last starring role, or, protagonist role, if you will, until Princess Peach Showtime, which is a vastly different product. First of all, it's being theorized that this was created to capitalize on her appearance in the Super Mario Brothers movie, because, well, we got a very different Peach in that one. She's a lot more proactive and assertive than she usually is in a lot of Mario games. Also, this one is completely divorced of all things Mushroom Kingdom.
Aside from her still presumably being the princess of that rather than something else. Yeah, there aren't any other previous existing Mario characters in it.
Right. I don't even, I'm trying to think if Toads are in there.
I think they're in the start, and then they quickly disappear.
Yeah. I mean, the likes of Mario,
I've only
Luigi,
played a little bit of the demo of it.
Yeah, the point is,
everything okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Like, God damn it.
Everything okay?
Is somebody trying to call?
Oh.
I'm not sure if that was picked up on.
Kind of.
Just where's bad timing? Like, anyway, sorry. As I was saying, Princess Peach Showtime, very much trying to appeal to young to teenage girls, I think. Especially, like, I want to say girls around the age of my niece, 7, 8 years old. Because the gameplay is very simple The game isn't very long. Like, it's very easy as well. And there have been some complaints about that. But spoiler alert, this game isn't for those who can master the challenge road difficulties in the late stage Mario games
Mm-hmm.
and what have you. You know, also the defining thing about Princess Peach Showtime, outside of the whole stagecraft motif, is the transformations.
Mhm.
Princess Peach gains the ability to become all sorts of characters.
Once again,
Like-
wearing a costume gives you the powers of whatever you're wearing the costume of.
Yeah, like we get Ninja Peach and Chef Peach and figure skater Peach.
I think most of them are more specific than that, but yes.
It's what I'm not remembering the specific names offhand. But yes, I'm like,
I think there's a mermaid in there.
yeah, of course there is. Like, there's dashing thief, Peach, sword lesbian Peach. Try to convince me otherwise.
I didn't say you were wrong, but
I'm like, there's superhero Peach, like Mighty Peach or something like that.
don't like that.
Yeah. Point is, there's a lot of peach. There's a lot of peaches in this game. One for I don't know. It's like any segment that little girls are presumably interested in. At least
Indeed.
I'm assuming that's the reasoning. I'm hoping it's more of that and less, let's say, totally spies. I'm like, which I can't also completely discount either.
I know you can't. I'm aware.
Like, anyway, as far as what the future holds for Princess Peach, well, hopefully more playable appearances and less kidnappings.
Yeah.
But this is Nintendo we're talking about, so I'm not precluding that she won't get kidnapped again.
She spends
in
another
the near
20 years on metaphorical ice.
Yeah. Anyway, we got to wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so with that in mind, the week ahead, coming up on Friday, March 29th, we'll be having a yell of Sinstoria on the broadcast. We're going to be talking about their upcoming visual novel, Imperial Guard. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to talking about a visual novel outside the space of manga gamer. It's Imperial Grace. We do have a new episode of MSP planned for today. Max says he should be joining us this week. He's been going through some stuff again. Like, and he'll tell the MSP crew all about it. Like, anyway, and coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Saboteur, Red Princess, Risky Woods, and Akumi Wars. So until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.